So here is what is becoming absolutely crystal clear now. The Conservatives have fallen further under Rishi Sunak's leadership than they fell under Boris Johnson or Liz Truss. And I still think in terms of mainstream media, Sunak's received a far easier ride than you saw the likes of Boris Johnson or Liz Truss. You know, just taking the Stop the Boats pledge from Sunak, well, look at what the former Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick is now making absolutely clear. That when it comes to the ECHR, it now consistently undermines the UK's security interests. The meaningful reform of the ECHR is a fantasy and that we must leave. Of course, Jenrick has previously also hit out the government's Rwanda plan, saying it won't work, it isn't tough enough. And it appears now those in the Conservative Party may actually now agree with that assessment, because you're seeing this ridiculous system that to me is just absolutely bonkers that Johnson and co with the big Conservative majority didn't reform Westminster post-Brexit. Instead now, the Lords still able, the unelected Lords, to delay legislation, try and block legislation. But you've actually got multiple Tory MPs now actually accusing the government of dragging its feet over this Rwanda bill legislation. You've got one former Tory cabinet minister quoted by the Times there as saying, it's a deliberate tactic, but it's a complete sham. This could have got finished before Easter, but the government chose to delay ping pong until after recess. And now it's chosen to adopt a snail's pace to get this so-called emergency legislation over the line. They go on to say, I think it's for two reasons. Firstly, the government is clearly not ready to operationalise the policy. But secondly, they've concluded that the policy doesn't work. They'll only be able to get a small number of symbolic flights off the ground before the general election. So it suits them to go incredibly slowly to draw out the process as close to the election as possible, so voters don't see how much of a failure it will be. So that's the assessment from a former Conservative cabinet minister, and the complete lack of action from the Conservative government has now seen voters deliver this verdict, that the Ipsos satisfaction score for Rishi Sunak falls to equal worst ever in terms of the rating, worst ever for a Conservative or Labour leader. You see here the Conservatives dipping below 20% with Ipsos as well. That's the lowest the Conservatives have ever polled with Ipsos across 45 years of surveys. It gets worse for Rishi Sunak because his personal support level, you see there, a record low for a PM. Just 16% of voters satisfied, 75% dissatisfied, equaling John Major's worst rating in August 1994, on par with Jeremy Corbyn's worst in opposition in 2019. And when it comes to the next election, very clear now, voters want to see this as soon as possible. The most popular choice amongst voters in terms of the timing of the election now is for it to be held before the end of June. You've got Gideon Skinner, the head of political research at Ipsos, saying there's no doubt that Rishi Sunak's ratings are historically poor. Being in the company of John Major and Jeremy Corbyn before they lost elections does not bode well. While although it's not unusual for a Prime Minister to be seen as out of touch, Sunak is also falling further behind on aspects such as being a capable leader. So there you have it. You're seeing now Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party falling to historically low levels, both in terms of support personally for the Prime Minister and also for the Tory Party. Their lowest level of support from voters in 45 years in terms of these Ipsos surveys. So very clear verdict there from voters. Let me know if any of that surprises you or not, guys. I will, of course, keep bringing you all the latest on this and more. So please do whack this video a quick thumbs up. And of course, as ever, cheers for watching.